Show, here on WNJC 1360 AM.
Isolation complete.
All right, and we're back with more of the Left and Right Show here on WNJC 1360 AM with your host tonight,
Zacharias
and Buddy Smith. And right now on the line, we have Robert Bruce from Comic Book Men and The Pop Culturist. How are you doing tonight, Robert?
Doing excellent. How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you for having me. I am literally sitting in my office a stone's throw away from the Secret Stash on the Mechanic Street in Red Bank, New Jersey.
It's too cool. And you had a big day today. I heard you were out at a flea market.
Well, the word flea market is sort of becoming more and more ambiguous as we go through time and history and everything. So the new thing is punk rock flea markets.
Oh, very cool.
And, I'm really plugged into the Jersey punk rock flea market scene. There's one in Trenton. There's one in Asbury Park, which we did today, which was hosted by my buddy Joe from Holdfast Records on Cookman Avenue in Asbury Park, New Jersey. There's one in North Jersey up in Kearney, and there's a Philadelphia punk rock flea market. So traditionally, you think of flea market, you think of ladies fighting over empty tables at 5:30 in the morning. At least I do. This is more of a let's get up at noon and go to this gathering of old punkers and DIY. And a lot of girls who like to look like Betty Page.
There you go. Some of the best things in life. Yeah, I like the term punk rock flea market. I like flea markets in general. I don't know if you ever had a chance to, when you travel South Jersey, to check out the Berlin Farmers Market.
I have been to Berlin's Farmers Market on a number of occasions. It is really, really far away from where I live. I think from Red Bank it's almost 2 hours. I'm more of a Columbus, Route 206 kind of flea marketer. I don't know if you've ever been to the Columbus flea market, but I find it to be one of the largest flea markets on the East Coast. It's a Thursday morning, Sunday morning sort of thing, and you can just find anything there.
Oh yeah. So, being, I guess, working with the guys from the Comic Book Men, you guys get to travel a lot around the conventions and stuff like that. I know we just got to see at the Mr. Hush Weekend of Fear Part 2.
Yeah, we did go to Weekend of Fear. Went out there with my buddy Ming. We do travel a lot. A lot of people, see us on TV, and my role is I walk in and I do the appraisals, or some thing that's like an age story where I scare the heck out of Ming out of the woods. But in reality, it's a reality TV show. We're all friends. I've been a comic book, buyer since the age of 11, and the Secret Stash has been my home comic book store for about 15 years now. So I've known the guys for a really long time, and there's a lot of that whole thing with me walking through, coming in unexpectedly happens all the time. For the longest time, I used to use the store as an alley to go to Starbucks, and it sort of got spun out of there, me being asked questions and answering for Walt, and one thing led to another, and then the opportunity to do the show with AMC came up, and we kind of, I was actually called in, and I did an audition, and then I got the role, but a lot of people don't know is beyond my on-air role, I'm also one of the producers of the show. I'm a consulting producer.
Very cool. And I've been to the Secret Stash a couple of times. I really enjoyed myself every time I've been there. I think I think we were saying a little bit earlier on the show, I've gotten some of the coolest stuff from the Stash. I know they just remodeled it. Did you have, I guess, any of the design work on that?
No, that came from upstairs, Kevin. This whole next season, I can't say too much, but the set has been changed, altered ever so slightly. One thing which is very noticeable, and you'll see it right away when the show airs October 12th on AMC at midnight after The Walking Dead, will be that the old storefront window is now a fixture in the shop. That's happened in June. We went into production for season 4 in July, and I think Ernie O'Donnell, who is actually in Clerks, is the house carpenter, and he did that. He did it in less than 5 days. And if you've been in the store since then, it's a really, it's a yellow window, and you walk in and go, wow, this is crazy. It really just is amazing, jumps out at you.
Very cool. Now, as the Mr. Hush Weekend of Fear just passed, do you get to travel around the convention circuit a lot?
Yeah, well, especially with the Weekend of Fear where we came out as guests, and normally we'd do a panel. We didn't get to do a panel, but I personally love to go to conventions. I probably logged in like 600 to 700 in my lifetime.
Damn.
Great thing about going out to the Woodlands Resort and the Weekend of Fear with David Madison from
Mr. Hush, and
that I got to bring my kids with me. So I have an 18-year-old and a 10-year-old, both boys. My 18-year-old is an aspiring film director and writer and creator. He's actually working on his first full-length horror movie called Burn in Hell. And he actually has contacts with a lot of the attendees. Edward X. Young, who was one of the attendees at Weekend of Fears in the movie, Ming's in the movie. So he's got all these like cameo people coming in and out, and to see him like developing, his whole following and just going to conventions with my kids, it's just been like a whole nother level. But we do shows every weekend. The guys this weekend, Mike, Ming, and Brian Johnson, were down at Richmond WizardCon. We'll be at New York Comic Con. We're going down. They're going to Alamo. I'm going to Boston. So we're always traveling. A lot of opportunities. The thing that's changed more over the years is I used to set up as a dealer, and nowadays, people ask me to set up and talk to people and take photos and do panels. So it's great because I get to pretty much go for free, and we love doing that sort of thing.
Now, do you feel like over the time it's changed for you? Do you still go and look at all the other vendors? Is it something, as a pop culture expert, as far as merchandising goes, is it something that you really look forward to, or do you feel like you've seen it all at the conventions already?
Yeah, no, I'm driven. I like to usually get up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday morning, whether I'm going to a convention or a flea market. I'm really into the hunting, gathering sort of mentality of collecting. I don't really consider myself to be a dealer. I never have. I'm a pop culturist, which means that I look at the historical significance of things, whether it's a G1 Transformer or today I bought a Chairman Mao poster for my own political collection. I have a very large political pin, underground counterculture, anti-war collection, probably nearing 3,000 pieces, which I started in the 80s, actually. And so, I'm driven to go. I like to look at things. I like to learn things. You can never know everything. I think that once you think that you're the smartest person in the room, that it's over. You might as well just put yourself in a pine box and throw yourself in a hole.
I've heard that you have an extensive Pez collection. I've read that you have an extensive Pez collection.
Pez?
Yeah.
I collected Pez for a while. I do have a lot of Pez. My main collection is Japanese vinyl, being like kaiju figures and Sentai, like earlier Ultraman and Rainbow Man, Mirror Man. I probably have about 5,000 or 6,000 figures in that toy line specifically. That's what's driving me now, is buying and collecting those things: robots, toy robots, monster toys.
Now, how big would you say your collection is?
We probably have close to 250,000 pieces. My comic book collection sits on 3 pallets. The majority of my comics are underground, not superhero related.
Okay.
I think R. Crumb. Most people know who Robert Crumb is, and S. Clay Wilson and Jeremy Greg Irons, and just some of the 60s counterculture comic book artists. I collect that art, but they sort of. I'm very much into First Amendment rights, so my comic book collection reflects that. A lot of things that weren't sold in the regular stores. We kind of got into that years and years ago. I have a website called Popculturism, POPCULTURIZM.com, and that's pretty much an underground comic book site. We started that a number of years ago. Since then, I've started, producing comic cons. I do the Asbury Park Comic Con, do the New York Comic Fest. We're doing East Coast Comic Con. And when we do these shows, we bring in a lot of the older artists, Jim Steranko, but we also had Dennis Kitchen, who ran Kitchen Sink for years, and Jay Lynch, who was an underground comic book artist who was also really well known for doing Garbage Pail Kids, and on and on. If you go and you look at our websites, AsburyParkComicCon.com, you'll see like a huge list of the guests that we have.
Very cool. Now, I guess over the years collecting and doing conventions, who would you say, I guess, some of the coolest people you met were?
Oh, God. Coolest people I've ever met. I just recently met Billy D. Williams, who played Lando Calrissian.
Oh, yeah.
By far one of the nicest, coolest people that I've ever met in my entire life. Kevin Eastman, who created Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
Is one of the most down-to-earth people that you'll ever meet. But the crazy thing is you go and, if you approach a star, an A-list celebrity, whether it's a comic book A-list celebrity or TV or a radio movie or whatever it is, and you just, don't have that fanboy, doe-eyedness, they tend to be really open. And a lot of people just like to talk to you. And, the great thing about hanging out and going to shows with the guys, you get to meet everybody. I think I've just about met every friggin' star I have ever wanted to meet. The pinnacle was meeting Adam West. Growing up, watching Batman on TV, it was always a big thing for me. It's one of the catalysts that got me interested in superheroes to begin with as a child. So meeting Adam West and him being like as nice can be, because you hear these stories, well, Adam West is too standoffish. Yeah, but if you're sitting there for 8 hours and you're signing 1,000 signatures, you kind of get a little pissed off after a while. But he was like a gentleman.
I was actually going to bring that up. I was going to say you've gotten to meet one of the people that I've always wanted to meet. Between Batman, his stint on Family Guy, it's just he's the all-time best Batman that I've ever wanted to meet.
Yeah, and you know what? He really shocked me because he was nothing like the press had said he was going to be like. He was complete gentleman, nice, wanted to hang out, and it's just amazing that you hear these stories of people. And I think it's just the nature of humankind. You'll hear something until it's like going to the movies and Guardians of the Galaxy, which I've already seen twice. I'm going to see a third time. It's probably one of the best movies I've ever seen. Some people didn't like it, but why didn't they like it? I don't know. I thought it was one of the best movies I've ever seen. And if some critic had said, "Hey, that was a really bad movie," I'd go and see it anyway. And I'd walk away, "Wow, that's one of the best movies I've ever seen." And I think when you meet these higher echelon sort of celebrities, it's the same sort of thing. The press is always different than the real person.
Now, let me ask you, since Comic Book Men took off and now you're on a pretty popular show, do you feel like you've had a large adjustment? Do you feel like you get recognized out a lot? A lot of people come up. Has it made any uncomfortable situations for you?
Yeah, it's funny because and this is going to sound sort of odd. You have to have an ego. Everybody's got an ego. I've been known to have like a pretty big ego for years and years and years and years. I just don't like the way. I like people in general anyway. I get recognized, but obviously I'm not I'm not in the direct ensemble of four. I'm sort of Kevin always calls me like the fifth Beatle, which makes me either Stu Sutcliffe or Pete Best. And I don't know which one's better. But I visited a friend in the hospital, and unfortunately they were in the psych ward. And while I was there, two people recognized me. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's where my audience is. So it's been great. I'll take it any way it comes. I love going out and talking to people. I've always talked to people. I like sharing knowledge. I like learning new things. People, if you're online, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pop Culturism, POPCULTURIZM. A lot of people ask me questions, and I'm always answering questions. I love to talk to people, even if it's something really mundane, and you hear it all the time. I think you almost have a responsibility to at least assist people who don't understand, and everybody's in a different stage. Some people are just getting into collecting. Some people have been lifelong collectors. Most of the lifelong collectors I already know. I've been very fortunate in my life. I've been collecting, professionally for more than 30 years. I made my first trip to San Diego in 1993. I did my first Comic-Con as a kid, as an attendee in 1976. So, I mean, that's a long time to go to shows. And nothing, and my wife thinks I'm crazy because I love to get up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And I literally have, like, I have an office now which is filled with stuff.
Oh, yeah, I think...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think it's really cool that you take the time out of your day or night to sit down with your fans and, just talk to them. I mean, may it be an interview or just, helping out a buddy. It's just really cool to talk to somebody like you.
Yeah, you almost have a responsibility, too, because the one thing that we are is like stewards, even in collecting, pop culture, you want to try to instill some sense of, community, because people are the future. I mean, you're teaching, like, my kids, hopefully one of my kids will want to do what I'm doing, and he'll carry the torch, because there's a lot of history. We don't look at it now, but, 50, 60 years from now, this is the golden age, and on so many levels. I mean, even the whole, the way that our communications, this podcasting and radio and this, and, the internet, it's changed everything so quickly. 20 years ago, there was no internet.
Totally true.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying totally true.
And, we have a responsibility. I think that the guys, certainly Mike Zapsik would agree with me wholeheartedly. Ming probably would. I don't think Brian would really care, but that's his position in life. And what goes with it, love. So things have been great. And I'm pretty, like, a lot of times I wake up just amazed, you just sort of have to go through life doing what you're doing. But we've been very fortunate. I've been more blessed than I've ever thought I would ever be. I literally, they're shooting a TV show in basically my hometown.
True.
I just happen to be this guy who's collected a lot of stuff for years. I've written books. I've helped write books. I worked for some pretty big auction houses early on in my career, which really gave me the foundation to be able to retain a lot of crazy information. And, if you want to get into this and you want to become a collector, you want to become a pop culturist, you want to go on to, like, write books or blogs, the only way to do it is to do it. You got to get up early in the morning. You got to go out. You got to learn something, whether it's comic books or records or artwork or posters or marbles, whatever it is. Find out one thing you're really attracted to and cling on to it and just learn about it. You got to learn inside out and sideways, and just that's the secret to collecting is understanding the whole media behind whatever that thing that's driving it.
Do you think it makes a man happier that he has his inner child still alive?
I can't answer that because my inner child's never died. So I think it has to. I mean, that's an interesting question. But I can't see how, you can't have that wanderlust, like, every day. And, I'm always, like, amazed at the things I can find and learn and the things I see just looking at stuff. Sunrise over a flea market somewhere. Some of the most beautiful, like, mornings I've ever had in my life. Over dirt markets,
Yeah. Oh, man. So what's next for Robert Bruce?
Well, we're finishing up season 4. We have one more week. The boss is coming in from California. We're going to do the podcast. What happens on those podcasts when the guys are sitting around, I'm usually on an IFB. I do all the clearances on reference material to make sure that there's a continuity. That's one of the things I do on the show is I sort of the better of the objects that come in. One thing that we can't do is we can't just have the items come on with us not knowing what's going to come on, because we'd have one day and just have like 5 Hulk 181s, and we can't do too many Hulk 181s. So I'm going to do that in 2 weeks, and then I start shooting a independent movie called Hudson County, which will probably be another week. And then we're going to, we shot the pilot for the spinoff, and we're still talking. AMC is trying to hash out some things. So hopefully we'll start shooting the pilot, and that'll come on late spring, knock on wood.
All right. I noticed actually that I read a little bit about the spinoff, and everything was. I felt like stressing that it wasn't a spinoff.
Well, I mean, it isn't in the sense that the guys are going to come along, although I keep on trying to push for at least Mike Domingue to be involved in it at some level. I really think it makes kind of sense. But, as great as AMC is, it's very complicated dealing with them from time to time. And it goes through filters. There's like 5 filters. So it's kind of like playing that old game telephone where you say a word and it goes around to 10 people, and by the time it comes back to you, it's a completely different word. So we're just sort of hashing things out. The ideas and the creative's been a little bit different than we initially anticipated it to be.
All right.
And we'll definitely be at New York Comic Con in early October. There's a panel on that Friday, so the guys will all be there, and I'll definitely be up for that.
Very cool. I looked at what was I looking at? It was something about comic book, man. I totally forget. It just totally like disappeared from my head. Oh, that's terrible.
But you said you'll be at the convention, the New York Comic Con?
We'll definitely be at New York Comic Con. I tend to go every year anyway. It's been sort of like crazy because I haven't had to pay for maybe 10 years now. And, everybody fights for tickets, and I just sort of get a pass and go hang out. And normally on Sunday I bring my 10-year-old, he'll be 10 this year. He'll come up and we sort of walk the floor. But definitely on Friday we're doing some PR stuff, so we'll definitely be in town for that.
Yeah, I don't know why this spaced from my head. I was thinking about something and it just totally disappeared. But I had to ask, is Ming really the bitch in real life?
No. Ming, the way the shop's set up, Wolf is the manager, Mike Sapsik is the assistant manager. Ming is actually, I've always considered him to be the smartest guy in the room because he does all the back-end IT. His story with Kevin is pretty remarkable because Ming had started a website, fan site years and years ago. Probably, I think he said like 18 years ago, which was right at the advent of the Internet. And Kevin, before he'd gotten on the Internet, one of the first sites he had ever seen going on the Internet was his fan site. And they struck up a friendship. That's got to be 96 or 97, which is really early.
Yeah.
Clerks came out in 94. So they're like working on this thing, and they're talking back and forth, and then Kevin gets a bright idea to hire Ming, brings him to California. Ming develops a Rescue website, and the rest is pretty much history. But as much as Ming gets battered around, and I think he's going to be battered around a little less this season. Well, not really. You need to have that guy, and he takes it great, and I think that his demeanor really fits that sort of jabbingness, especially from Brian. But Brian pretty lays into everybody a little bit more this season than last season.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of different players coming in through this season than we've ever had. The great thing about the show is that it has been successful. The numbers at midnight have been fantastic. I mean, much more higher than I think even AMC anticipated them to be. We were doing a 0.6, 0.7 average in the demographics, which for layman's term is 600 to 700,000 individual viewers in the 18 to 49, which is the critical demographic.
Yeah.
At midnight, which would put us in the top 40 cable TV shows for Sunday all day long.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
Which is completely unheard of. And they put us at midnight, so we're far enough away from Walking Dead that we're really not retaining their audience. You got Walking Dead, Talking Dead, Walking Dead, then Comic Book Men. So it's been like a real inspirational thing to see the show succeed the way it's going. Because, we all put in a lot of effort. And most people don't see it, but the guys get on set at 10 o'clock. We shoot till 6. There's an hour break and lunch. It's like going to work. And if you've been in front of the camera, I mean, I probably shot 8 scenes this past season. It's nerve-wracking. 3 hours in front of the camera is nerve-wracking for me. These guys do it for, 10 hours, 12 hours, depending on how long the day goes, which is remarkable. And keeping up that energy and just going forward. I think this season is going to be better than our wildest dreams. I think it's just going to continue to make the show grow in popularity. There's a lot of surprises, and the crew that produces the show, it's like the same crew from last year, so it's going to have that same sort of look. There's some new things we threw in. We got a quadcopter, so there's actually aerial shots, and it's pretty crazy.
That's awesome.
I really
the quadcopter around in the store. I never got to see the footage. I don't know if they're going to use it, but it was just nutty watching the whole concept of a quadcopter in the store.
I really like how community-based the show is. I've lived in New Jersey my entire life, and I've never been to Red Bank. What's your favorite thing about Red Bank? You said you've lived there your whole life?
Well, I was actually born in Red Bank. I'm one of those life for Jersey guys. My family's been in the Red Bank area, Rumson, Red Bank, for 6-7 generations. And we've been in the States since 1656. Red Bank sits on the Navesink River. I learned how to swim in the Navesink River. The thing about Jersey, the one thing I love about Red Bank is when I'm coming down the Parkway and I come past exit 120 and I hit the Mattawan Creek, and there's that smell of the creek water, that river water, and once I smell that, I know I'm home. And that's Red Bank to me, because if the wind's blowing in the right direction, I can always smell the river. And that's, to me, it's one smell that's never changed. And you'd have to live by a river to know what I'm talking about, or that creek, whatever that local creek, or even the ocean, because the ocean has a certain smell. But for me, that's home, and I've always, I lived in Hoboken, I lived in New York, I went to school in New York City. When I moved back in the early 90s, it's been great. I love Red Bank.
Yeah, we live actually right here off the Delaware, and that smell is not the same off of Delaware, I find.
Yeah, but you know what? If you went away from it, you probably miss it after a while.
I'm sure. Robert, would you mind giving us a radio ID tag?
Sure. Here we go. I'm Rob. I'm Robert Bruce from TV's Comic Book Men. You're listening to Left and Right Show on WNJC 1360 AM.
Oh, man, that's
Thank
great.
you so much. That was great. We love to add that.
That was perfect.
Robert, where other than the New York Comic-Con coming up, where else can our listeners see you next?
Well, you can always catch me on Smodco. I'm usually on I Saw Comics or Tell 'em Steve Dave, one of the morning shows. I kind of float in and out on those. We're working on a new podcast called The Pop Culturist, which I'm hoping will be up in the next 3 or 4 weeks. I tend to do the Wayne Toy Show, which is the first Sunday of every month. It's a little toy show in Wayne, New Jersey. It's been going on for 18, maybe 20 years.
Wow.
It's one of the first shows I ever did. I like to do it. I have a lot of friends there, a lot of friends from come out of the city. I do a lot of buying there, wheeling and dealing, and it's really kind of like my home turf in a lot of ways. It's one of those things, again, I've been doing it for 15 years. When that first Sunday of the month comes up, I'm out in my car driving at 4:30 in the morning to go to Wayne. I mean, it's one of the few shows that actually starts at 6 a.m. And I don't really have to check the schedule of New York Comic Con. I haven't looked that far ahead. I know there's a bunch of other events that are going on, but you can always email me at popculturism@yahoo.com or visit the website www.popculturism.com or monstersandrobots.com. That's another one of our sites. We also run a news and information site called 13th Dimension. And then we're going to run the East Coast Comic Con in April of 2015 in the Meadowlands.
Oh, we'll have to come check that one out.
It's busy. It keeps on being busy. I'm actually trying to take a couple of days off. It's never going to happen.
It always seems to be the thing, right?
Well, it's better to be busy than not busy, that's for sure.
That is very true. Well, we wanted to thank you so much for having you on tonight. You were a great guest.
Appreciate it.
I believe it's October 12th. We should be looking for the next
12th
season.
at midnight on AMC, right after The Walking Dead. Tune in. We'll be on there. It should be great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, Robert.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, and again, that was Robert Bruce from AMC's Comic Book Men. Season 4 premieres on October 12th. Look for it.
Now, you know the funny thing, or the cool little fact that I like about Comic Book Men, it was originally supposed to be called Comic Men, a kind of play off the Mad Men. It was a very popular show at the same time it was coming out. And, you know, it was thrown around for a little bit, and they finally said, this is stupid. We're doing comic books. Why not Comic Book Men? And that's how Comic Book Men was started.
Yeah. It's fun. When I hear comic book, I think of comic book. When I hear comic, I think of the funnies. And I actually think of the paper.
There you go.
I think of the comic strips in the paper.
Was it Iggy?
Iggy?
Or Marmaduke?
Marmaduke. Marmaduke was a bad dog.
Iggy something was one of the comics.
And the Peanuts. Who doesn't know Peanuts? Not the Peanuts.
But as we hit the 11 o'clock hour, we're going to head to a musical break right now. As always, you're listening to the Left and Right Show on WNJC 1360 AM with your hosts,
Zacharias
and Buddy Smith. And our special guest that just ended was Mr. Robert Bruce from Comic Book Men. Stay tuned for more of the Left and Right Show. We'll be right back.
Word.
We'll be right back with more of the Left and Right Show here on WNJC 1360 AM.
Isolation complete.